In Bitcoin futures appear to have an accumulation zone in the background, and the market has had a bit of trouble moving away. It did break out, came back and tested the breakout, attempted a breakout a second time, but failed to do so, and attempted to consolidate sideways right up high in the range, but eventually pulled back, and we've got a secondary test of the breakout taking place now. We looked last week at this bar, which was a bit questionable, and the first thing to note was there's been no downside follow through in response to that bar. So it wasn't seriously weak if there was weakness in there. And when we looked at the daily chart, it did appear there may be some buying in that bar. In fact, we'll just go back to the daily chart quickly and have a look at it. And the lows of the range come through there. This was that up bar, which did look like buying on very high volume. And then price came back on reduced volume or reducing volumes. And that suggested to me that it was a buy the offer bar. Someone was attempting to buy the market without pushing price against themselves too badly. Now this week, 4-day trading week began on this bar, and you've had 3 days of consolidation, and then an attempt to push higher here, which wasn't broadly supported by the market, but volume was well below average, so it doesn't really look like any serious supply was drawn out. So you've had effectively 4 days of consolidation. There's a little period in there, probably in response to the low volumes. But look at these low volumes down here. This was the consolidation period for 3 days this week. There was no selling pressure in there, and that allowed just a small amount of demand to push price higher. There was an attempt to push higher here. It wasn't really a serious attempt because there's no volume on this bar, and it wasn't supported by the market. And then price fell back under its own weight and just closed level, pretty much at the 26,000 level. So back to the weekly chart. Doesn't appear there was any great danger in this week's bar. It was effectively a consolidation bar, and prices consolidating in response to the previous bar. And the most notable feature of that previous bar, although it looks weak, there was no downside follow through in response, which you would have expected to see if that really was full of supply and full of weakness. This week actually closed slightly higher for the week. Volume was very low. So it was a consolidation bar. It was an absorption bar. There was no intent to move higher. It was testing the market for supply and absorbing any supply that was being drawn out in response. This leaves the market well placed to push higher if there is demand in the market, and if not, I expect we continue to move sideways in this consolidation zone. You may get another bar like this if there really is an accumulation, which is a buy the offer type bar. But apart from that, sideways is most likely the direction, at least until some real serious demand arrives.